Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
The Lord is going to put us back in our land, man, through Yahweh Shai. We're going to be sovereign. We're going to rule. We're going to win. We're going to have everything in abundance, man.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The wisdom is going to lead to the kingdom, which ultimately the kingdom is the government of Israel, the tabernacle of David. When you look up this word, keys, I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom. When you go to that word keys, that keys to the kingdom is the key of David, the tabernacle of David, the government, authority. But when you go to the word for keys, it says what? Kleis. It says it's the keeper of the keys has the power to open and shut, meaning the Lord is going to give us dominion, right? He's going to give us judgment. And it says metaphorically in the New Testament to denote power and authority of various kinds. This wisdom is going to lead to us receiving the kingdom, which is authority above, the authority that the Most High Yahweh gave Yahweh Shai. We're going to have that authority, 144, Lord willing, that number. But it's authority of various kinds, authority over the resources, authority over the heathen, authority over, you can implement judgment. You're going to be able to create and manipulate the elements to create things. You're going to be a God on earth. Basically, that's the power that 144 is going to have. Not even all Israel going to be on the level of the 144. But yeah, that key, that was given to Peter was the head of the church. We fall under that order. That's David. The tabernacle of David will receive all various kinds of power, and the gates of hell will not prevail, against us. But yeah, the key of David, see Revelation 1:18, I am him that liveth and was dead. He conquered death. He's the firstborn of the dead, first one of the sons of God. He is the Son of God. He conquered death and went back to the right-hand side. Now we're seeking to conquer death and get our glory back. It says, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive evermore. Amen. I have the keys of hell and death, meaning judgment. Judgment is given into the hands of Yahweh Shai. And we're going to have that power and say we're going to be able to create plagues on the earth. Like we're going to be a government. Look, the government is the government of the whole earth. So the keys that were given unto Peter, which is the key of David, is authority. Power over the nations, everything, bro. So, the scriptures say here, Zechariah 12, it says, in that day Yahweh shall defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. We're going to be New Jerusalem. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. So we're going to take the same form as Yahweh Shai. We're going to be joint heirs with him in rulership. That's why he told, the disciples, you're going to sit at my table, So all Israel is going to be on point. All men will be priests, all our women, but the house of David is going to be as God, meaning they're going to have a certain authority on a whole nother level under Yahweh Shai, who is the angel of the Lord that's going to be before us. So, yeah, bro, we got a lot coming. The tabernacle of God is with men. When you read that in Revelation 21 and 3, which out of the tabernacle of God is with men, with them. And they shall be his people. God himself shall be with them and be their God. I mean, the laws is going to be in us. And also, 1 John 3 says what? 1 John 3:2, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it does not appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And every man that had this hope in himself purified himself even as he is pure. So we got a lot coming, bro. You know, we gonna be, you know, like next level. You know, this government that's coming, kingdom of heaven, boy. Woo! So, I mean, I don't mind being a part of the large multitude because you make it, but man, to be a part of that governing body, bro, that 144, you got something special coming, bro. Judgment, like you're gonna literally, the authority Yahweh Shai has, you're gonna have that. He's gonna share that authority with you.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the whole lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, another morning news and prophecy. Okay, and what I want to touch on today, all right, is vain talkers. All right, and going to the latest, you know, dealing with Iran. Okay, and dealing with vain talkers, you know, what we have to understand. What we see from this guy, you know, Donald Trump, what we see and hear, okay, is mostly political theater, okay, you know, and he's propped up, you know, and the elite set this man up, okay, to usher in this new world order, okay, and with him ushering in this new world order, one of the main tactics of, all right, these devils is to push confusion, okay. So we have to understand Trump is a character. Okay, he doesn't fully understand what the military is doing. Okay, he doesn't fully understand what the economy is doing. Okay, this is a system that's way bigger than him. Okay, he's just the logo, all right, of America right now. Okay, but as far as the inner workings and him making decisions about which direction the country goes, and this is way above him. He's not making those decisions. Okay, what leader to take down, what country to attack next. Okay, these are calls that are being made that's above his head. Okay, but he has to play like he's in charge. Okay, and we have to understand he's no different, you know, than Jack Nicholson. Okay, George Clooney, he's an actor. All right, and his main goal was to get people to trust in this Make America Great Again. All right, to hype people up in that. You see, there was a major enchantment psyop. Okay, and to be controversial. I mean, because controversy is a distraction. Okay, so whether you're against Trump or for Trump, you're distracted. All right, because you believe that this nigga has some actual say so. So if you're arguing back and forth about, you know, whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, well, you're falling for the bait, which is to keep you distracted, okay, on something that don't matter. All right, Trump approval rating don't matter. You think Trump cares about an approval rating? Okay, no. All right, these elites, they're turning American democracy into, all right, a dictatorship, because they need a dictatorship to bring in this new world order. Like we always say, that's why China, you know, it was so easy, you know, for China to get to where they at with their social credit system, you know, their surveillance state, okay? because they already have an authoritarian type government. Okay, so they're bringing that style of government to America, all right, to modify America to fit into this new world order. Okay, America is not the least, that their vision for America is not what America has been. See, America was an idea and a project. Okay, now the American project has ended. Okay, because through America they weakened the nations. Okay, they put these nations in debt. Okay, they've have gotten these nations to join their rebellion. Okay, against the Most High, all through America, man. Okay, so now what we're seeing is a dismantling, okay, of America, and ultimately what we're seeing is the will of the Lord come into play. I want to look this up real quick. Let's look real quick, look up, and then we're gonna get into some precepts. And I got quite a few videos on Nero interacting. Okay, so we know that this guy, Trump, whom we know to be Nero, coming back. So just a real quick Google look up, quick AI overview. All right, I said, was Nero into acting? It says, yes, Emperor Nero was deeply into acting and performed publicly as an actor, singer, and musician, which scandalized the Roman elite but made him popular with common people. Okay, this man is an actor, man. All right, but he's a clown to anyone that's serious minded, like a Putin, which all these guys, the elites, okay, play a part with all these world leaders. But you can tell, all right, with some leaders that they have a sense of gravity, seriousness about them, man. So on the world stage, okay, amongst other leaders, this guy's a clown. Okay, but to the common people, he's a hero. He's acting, man. Okay, it says, yes, Emperor Nero was deeply into acting and performed publicly as an actor, singer, and musician, which scandalized the Roman elite but made him popular with the common people, using it as a form of control and self-expression, famously touring Greece, all right, to compete in arts festivals. He saw himself as a great artist, with his dying words even reflecting this passion, famously saying, what an artist dies in me. Okay, so this nigga Nero, okay, was an actor, man. He was into acting. Okay, so this guy comes back as Trump. Okay, he's doing the same thing. Nero wasn't no military guy. Okay, he was trash. Okay, he didn't lead no militaries, man. He wasn't into, all right, economics. Okay, he didn't do no major economic reforms, man. There was a guy, he was an emperor. Okay, he was into acting. He was he was into freakiness. Okay, little boys and all type of things, man. Okay, he wasn't no great guy. All right, history, pump him up because this is Esau's. All right, when you look at the Roman history, okay, we were taught Roman history from the concept of Esau Edom. So he romanticizes these different Caesars if they were something great. They was some type of icon. Nero was trash, man. Okay, this nigga was, like I say, he was into acting. All right, like I say, he was a super freak. Okay, he wasn't a military man. He didn't do nothing for the military, and he started to devalue the Roman currency, man. Okay, so this nigga's back doing the same thing, man. He's an actor. Okay, the economy is going to hell under this nigga, and the military. All right, he has no clue what's going on, man. Okay, so Trump is just the logo of a system that's way bigger than him. All right, and a lot of time when he talks, he just be talking, man. That's one thing we have to understand with Trump and the Western media in general. Okay, when Trump be talking, that nigga is doing exactly that, just talking. Okay, so we're gonna take Greenland, we're gonna take Cuba, you know, he's just naming out countries, man. This nigga just talking, man. He don't make those decisions. Okay, and when Western media report on news, especially during the time of war, all right, they're reporting the exact opposite of really what's happening for the most part, man. So if you look into Western media have you so confused, all right, and you'll be deep into a false reality, man. Your perception of what's really going on will be rooted in false reality, man. ABC News don't got it. Okay. That's why it's best, what I've learned is to pay attention to the experts that know how war works, that know how the military works, that know how governments work, that have been to these places, that they are from these places. Okay, so you can get a more authentic report. But Western media have you so confused and into a false reality, man, that you'll just be repeating, okay, the opposite of what's going on. Okay, you listen to Western media, you would think Ukraine was whooping Russia ass. You would think Iran is weak and ready to just tumble. Completely the opposite of what's really going on. Okay, so that's why. Let's go here. I just want to get that out, but let's go here, man, because with all these different narratives, and I have to remind myself to always reel myself back into the prophecy, man. Because you can get caught up. We can get caught up in the rabbit hole of narratives, okay? But we always got to hone myself with the prophecies. What do the prophecies say? Stick to what the prophecies say, because the news got to line up with the prophecy, okay? The prophecy doesn't have to, line up with the news. No, the news has to line up with prophecy, man. The prophecy is the authority. That's the driving force behind everything that we see happening, man. Okay, so let's go here to the book of Isaiah 33 and 6. It says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, is his treasure." Okay, so the wisdom and knowledge, which is the wisdom knowledge of what? Prophecy, man. You see, that's the stability of that time. Knowing who we are, knowing who our power is, knowing what to avoid, because we understand what the MOTB is based on what? Understanding prophecy, man. Okay, so when we see this devil rolling it out, we know what to avoid. Okay, so wisdom and knowledge, okay, of these scriptures, that's what's navigating us, man. This is the narrative that we stick to, the wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures. Okay, so when because like I say, we're pro prophecy, man. We're not pro Russia, we're not pro Iran, we're not pro China, we're not pro. No, we're pro prophecy. And when we speak on things concerning Russia, China, and Iran, it's because of what the scriptures say. Okay, so when you go into the scriptures, what we have to understand, Isaiah 13 and 17 said, Behold, I will stir up the Medes, which are the Russians, against them. Okay, we shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Okay, so when we speak about Russia, okay, taking down America, this is what the scriptures say. This is what the prophecies say, man. Okay, you let Western media fool you to thinking that Russia is something to play with. No, the Lord is a tool. Russia is a tool that's been raised up by the Lord. Okay, that's what Western media talking about. You let America, fool you with these little gimmicks, and man, we stole Russia oil tank, man. Russia weak, man. Okay, you run with that narrative you want to. Okay, the scripture said, "I will stir up the Medes against them." Okay, you let these little gimmicks and social media memes have you fool like Russia okay, is losing the Ukraine, and Russia's on the brink of a collapse. And okay, all right, what the scripture say? Verse 18, it said, their bows also dash the young men to pieces, and they shall not have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children, man. And these missiles, man. Okay, and that high tech, all right, missile systems of Russia, all right, these high tech projectiles, okay, these highly advanced projectiles and hypersonic technology that Russia has, it comes from the Lord. Okay, Russia is a weapon of choice. You see, to cut this hammer asunder. Iran, China, these are all weapons of the choice of the Lord. The Lord raised them up. And it's just the Lord showing that he is, just like he raised up Babylon. There was a time when the Babylonian, the Neo-Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar, okay, they just dominated the earth. Okay, nobody could deal with them until it was time for what? The Medo-Persian Empire. Okay, then he raised up the Medes and the Persians. Okay, the Medes and Persians, nobody could do nothing with the Medo-Persian Empire. They thought that empire was going to last forever. But what did the Lord do? He took a much smaller empire, the Greeks, and took them down. Okay, so our narrative is glued to the prophecies, man. So when we speak on Russia, you will look at it like, man, they always speaking, like they pro-Russian. We pro-prophecy, man. Okay, so for a moment, Russia, okay, is going to be the weapon of choice, along with these nations that's going to be joined to Russia, man. Okay, because what is the purpose? In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans, excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, man, which is with fire, man. Okay, so and what do we see? Russia has missiles that the West can't do nothing with. Okay, they gave a little demonstration. They gave a little demo. Okay, and as we speak, they're mass manufacturing these missiles, man. Okay, while we're doing this live stream, they're mass producing these missiles. Okay, that's gonna fulfill this prophecy of the Lord doing America like he did Sodom and Gomorrah, man. You see, we stick to the prophecy, man. All right, so let's go from there, and let's go with Iran. Because like I say, Western media have you goddamn food to where you think Iran is a joke. Because see, America teaches people to look at how the world works like a hood movie. The American viewpoint of how the world's supposed to work is like a hood movie. Okay, so just because America and the small hats, they've been killing these Iranian leaders, in the West. If Iran don't crash out behind it, they weak. That ain't how war works, man. War is way more complex than that. Okay, the stakes are way higher, man. This is not a hood movie. Okay, this is not a bar fight. You see, and it's all the Lord's. It's all according to the Lord's perfect timing, man. Okay, and you gotta think these nations thinking long term. We understand that these nations ain't got long. They not thinking like that. These nations trying to preserve themselves for the long run. Okay, and they have to consider this. It's still America. America, they in their mind, they don't know America. Okay, you see, it's finna go down in the fashion it's finna go down. They still gotta consider that. Okay, this is still America, and America still got this knockout power. They declining, but we can't just be reckless. Okay, well, you gotta put yourself in the shoes of these leaders. Okay, But these nations are thinking long term. They're not thinking short term like us. We know that the Lord gonna finna wrap this shit up. Okay, but these nations, they're trying to make moves and position themselves, all right, to be around for the long term. You see? So let's go here. Let's go to Second Esdras. All right. Matter of fact, let's start at 15. All right, and 1. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, and verse 1. It said, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in my mouth, said the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Okay, so we're speaking in the ears of our people prophecy, man, whether they hear or forbear, whether they believe or not. Okay, but we know these prophecies are faithful and true. Okay, and this is why we got to stick to the prophecies and damn what the Western media is talking about, man. You know, and even with alternative media, even with the certain sources that we got, they only know so much, and then we got to go back to the scriptures. Okay, they can give us, certain insights, but then even with them, it's limited. Okay, the full narratives in the scriptures. We just go to them for certain details. The Lord has them to bring out certain details that line up with the scriptures. Okay. And it says, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imagination against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness, man. So it doesn't matter whether you believe the report of the prophets or not. Okay, it's not gonna halt. Okay, it's not gonna put brakes on the prophecies, man. Okay, so I want to jump down here, because mainly because people, more people believe that that it's more so people really believe Iran is weak. Now with Russia, it's a back and forth about the strength of Russia, but with Iran, they paint a picture like Iran is just something to play with because of all these little things that's been happening. They killed the general, they've been killing these scientists, and they've been doing these little attacks, which ultimately it's a war of cowards. And that's another thing. If I'm superior to you, why do I got to kill your generals and your scientists? Okay, if I'm superior to you, if you as weak as I'm saying you is, why don't just come in and just take over? Nobody look at it like that. Everybody look at, oh man, they killed the scientists. Man, Iran didn't do nothing. Okay, because you got to understand the narrative of the West. If just like somebody, if let's say you're worth $2 billion, okay, but the whole country, okay, of Canada believe you broke. Okay, you ain't gotta go on no campaign to try to prove yourself that you ain't broke, because you ain't broke. Okay, so Iran don't have to go on this campaign to try to prove, okay, that they got strength. You can believe that Iran is weak, but when it really go down, then that's gonna matter. But going back to the point, if Iran is as weak as the West say they is, why do they gotta kill their scientists? Okay, unless those scientists are coming up with technology that they can't deal with. Okay, and we see that when we look at how Iran send these strike packages to these small hats and they can't do nothing with it. Okay, why do I gotta try to kill your generals if I'm superior? Why I can't just pull up? They did to Venezuela. Okay, so why they didn't do the same thing with Iran? Okay, you gotta think about it from that perspective, man, because the West will have you just thinking any goddamn thing, man. Okay, so and I say we not pro Iran, we pro prophecy and we pro truth, because the West be lying. These niggas be lying. They have you thinking of a false reality, man. Okay, so let's go here. This is Second Ezra 15:28 said, "Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east." Okay, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, all right, these Ishmaelite nations, okay, shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth. And it says that all it said that all they that it said, yeah, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Okay, because eventually these Ishmael and Elam, all right, they're gonna click up, man. You know, because even the Lord got them under the banner of Islam, okay, which they zealous, about their religion, okay, which is a false religion. Hey, but the Lord is using it, okay, that plays a part in the Lord using it for these nations, okay, these Islamic nations to come together, man, Ishmael and Elam, okay, and then it's just making more sense for them, okay, to be with Iran than to continue on with the West. And that's another thing. These nations are allowing America to make an ass of themselves, man. Okay, because the West can do all this BS and still be looked at as some type of villain and hero. Okay, and they be wanting Iran to react just so they can turn the camera on and say, "See, I told you they were savages. I told you we in threat for our life, man." Okay, so a lot of things they do, they be wanting to provoke a reaction so they can turn the camera on and push propaganda. Okay, and Iran ain't been falling into that trap. Okay, so they steady push and push and push. And you don't think that Iran and already you don't think that Iran already know what America and these small hats gonna do. Like this is a surprise. You think they surprised when one of their generals die, when they scientists die? Okay, killing the scientists, what does that do? The technology already here. Killing the general, we got thousands of generals. What that's going to do? Okay, and you don't think Iran know how these devils get down? You don't think these people are ready to die every day? The East is way different than the West. Okay, it's a different type of masculinity over there in the East, man. All right, you don't think that they are ready to die every day, from the least soldier all the way to the general? They know what they up against. Okay, now this the point, verse 30. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come. And that's what we, all right, basing our perception on Iran, because the scripture said they're gonna come with great power. Okay, so the Lord got them built up, and if you're really following this thing, you've seen, okay, the power that Iran possesses, man, by the precision of their missiles, man. Okay, that 12-day war, them small hats was getting their work. Okay, when Iran was really getting active, and they were still operating at a low capacity, man. They were still sending small strike packages, man. Okay, and they was getting ready to turn Tel Aviv to a parking lot, and that was with those small strike packages of old missiles, man. Okay, so the scriptures say that Iran gonna come with great power. Okay, that power ain't just gonna come out their back pocket. They got it now. You see? And ever since that 12-day war, these last 7 to 8 months, they've been getting more powerful, man. Okay? So it says, and also the Carmanians raging and wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood. And you have to understand, the wild boar is hard to kill. I've talked to guys that hunted, it was a spirit. Because even when, matter of fact, I think the brother Azaria, the brother out of Orlando, because when he was down, him and the brother Nahalia, okay, uh, it was a guy, he was talking about deer hunting, but then he said he went and hunted for wild boar, okay, and he said he shot, okay, the wild boar, and he thought it was like a deer, to where you got to track, the wild boar like you do the deer. So he shot it and it ran off. Okay, so if he went into the woods to track, that wild hog, not only did he find that wild hog still living, but he started to look around and there was other wild hogs surrounding him, and he had to retreat. Okay, and he explained that those wild hogs that they fight with each other, and they pierce each other with their tusk in the side. Okay, and over a while, they side develop a callus, and it's almost like a bulletproof vest, to where a bullet don't penetrate it. Okay, and they hard to kill. He said they hard to kill. You see, and when they get cornered, they get extremely aggressive, and they're smart. Okay, when they get cornered and when they together. You see, so the scriptures say Iran gonna be like a wild boar. Okay, they gonna be hard to kill. They gonna be aggressive. And they gonna be smart. Okay, this is what the scriptures saying. Damn, what Western media talking about. And it's a lot of people gonna take their ass over there. Just like when that 12-day war, you had a lot of Americans making TikToks talking about we on the way to Iran. You had these young niggas talking about we on the way to Iran. Okay, you believe that shit, America, and you think you finna go over there? Okay, and you just finna whoop on some towel heads with some sandals. All right. Okay, when it really go down, because they gonna need that draft. Okay, America gonna need that draft when this thing kick off, man. Okay, because the Lord finna lay some bodies down over there, man. All right, and you gonna see what Iran and Russia, you gonna see what they got firsthand, and that's the power of the Lord working through prophecy, man. Okay, they're just throwaways, because the Lord against Russia, Iran, and China, all of them going into slavery. Okay, we're just dealing with the narrative of prophecy, man. You see, and it says, in the Carmanians raging and wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, man, which the Assyrians is modern day America, man. Okay, because Assyrians were known for their mighty force, their mighty power. Okay, for having a mighty military, man. Okay. Even the Romans, study some of the tactics of the Assyrians. Okay. But and we have to understand, these American military assets, these bases that's over there in their region, that's an extension of America, man. Okay, and all this gonna get wiped out. Okay, you American troops that's over there stationed, you're just sitting ducks, man. Okay, you're sitting ducks, man. You see, the Lord has equipped these nations to counter everything that used to be America's strength when it comes to warfare. There was a time when them aircraft carriers pulled up and these nations was helpless. Okay, they was at the mercy of the American Air Force. That's not the case no more. Okay, American Special Forces. You see, they were just able to show up and infiltrate and topple governments. Well, that's not the case anymore. They can do that with Venezuela, and then even with that, that's because America just was able, because the dollar is so powerful against these other currencies, man. It's easy to get these people to flip. Okay, when you got all this American currency that you can get people to sell out with. Okay, and that's another thing that topples these governments is these governments taking these bribes, man. Okay, well, that's another story. All right, so let's go here. Let's get some videos, man. You know, yep. The brother said wild boars are very invasive. You know, they hunt. All right, in numbers, man. Okay, you gonna see. All right, Western media has said a lot. They're gonna set a lot of people up for failure, man. So let's go here. I want to get this video first, okay? Because this whole thing with, because Trump got up there and said, "Oh, we can rerun Venezuela now, and the American oil companies is going to go down, and we're going to revamp the infrastructure." And you people thought gas prices were going to go down by the weekend, and like it was some type of victory for you. Nah, man. Okay, so let's play this here, dealing with what's going on the ground, man.
The United States is taking a victory lap. Trump administration, Rubio, Trump himself, they're all declaring that they have full control. The vice president of Venezuela, her words at least, and so far her early actions seem to contradict this. She's demanded the release of Maduro, the country.
Now with this this Venezuelan vice president, Delcy Gonzalez. All right, the jury's still out on her. What she on? We'll see. Okay, but she's just one person, man. All right, but we'll see how the narrative goes. But now you're in the phase to where you took Maduro, so now what's next? Okay, and America be having these one-tier plans. Okay, when they don't have no real plan for nothing next, but they needed some political theater to show strength. Okay, but now what's next? Okay, that's the big question. Now what? Because they don't run Venezuela, they don't have control over Venezuelan oil. Okay, so what's next?
Was invaded, and that there really is actually a full hunt right now on the streets of Venezuela from the colectivos to find, as Larry called them, the traitors that might have been responsible for this. She said, "We are partners with Chevron, which is a company from the U.S., and they want our oil without paying because they want to lower the cost for the U.S. in a process that is very badly hit. Today, they are no longer the world's leading economic power. It's China now. They've been displaced, and they believe they can recover that position. And do so, they need Venezuela's oil for free. And for it to be free, it has to be stolen. Do they really think we as a people are going to allow it, give away our oil, give away our riches? Well, they had to do it the way they did, by assault, by using military force to seize a merchant ship that was transporting Venezuela's oil. And when their top authority was asked what they're going to do with that oil, they answered, keep it. So they want to impose a law of the jungle. It doesn't seem like she is on board with allowing the law of the jungle to be imposed, Patrick. How do you react to this? Because there's the news that now Venezuela's supposedly getting taken from them, the 50 million barrels of oil, that now the U.S. is controlling the entire process. Is this words or is this reality?
The thing about Donald Trump you have to understand is I just look at the form. Donald Trump is just another horse race in the political Grand National Sweepstakes, okay, or the Irish Sweepstakes. So I look at the form, and the form for Donald Trump is consistent. He says a lot. This is probably why nobody was happy attending his business school at Trump University, because the first rule in business is never overpromise and underdeliver, and that seems to have been lost on the great genius businessman Donald Trump, because he constantly overpromises and underdelivers. You remember the raw earths? I mean, they're rare earths, but Trump reinvented the terms, called them raw earths in Ukraine. That was, we've done a deal. We've signed a deal with Zelensky. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to get all the raw earths. What came of that, by the way? I mean, that wasn't that long ago. That was in May. Nothing came of it.
And you got niggas on the internet. Trump is so smart. He's getting the raw, which is rare earths, but that nigga call them raw earths because he's an active Okay? Niggas an actor, man. A pure clown and a half, man. Okay? But niggas, oh, Trump is so smart. He's getting the rare earths from Ukraine, man. We getting some out the deal. We ain't just giving them money for nothing, man. We winning. Nigga, Zelensky days are numbered. Nigga, Zelensky is getting the brakes beat off him over there by Russia. That nigga can't promise you nothing, man. Okay? You make a deal with Zelensky, nigga. Zelensky is any day now. Okay? Because if because you best believe what Russia did to Venezuela, what America did to Venezuela, Russia can do the same thing with Zelensky. What those small hats do when they bomb and kill those Iranian leaders, Russia can do the same thing with Zelensky, man. Okay, so this big promise, they made this big deal about the rare earth minerals. Nigga, Zelensky can't promise. He not in no position to promise a goddamn thing. Okay, that nigga, he's losing pieces of his country, of Ukraine, as we speak. He's losing territory of Ukraine as we speak. Okay. Well, everybody, oh, Trump is just genius, man. I would never thought of that, man. This nigga is so smart. This nigga just talking. Okay? Just to have you talking.
Donut. And so he can tweet these things on Truth Social. Donald Trump lives in his own world, in his own little television world. He thinks that if he imagines something and he believes that he has such great power of manifestation, that if he truths something on his Truth Social account, then it manifests somehow, or that it will manifest. And what his administration has clearly done on a number of occasions is they've front-loaded some big declaration or promise, and then you can see them frantically behind the scenes trying to patch together something that resembles the promise that they led with. And if they don't get it, they just go quiet on it and then create another sort of media splash and then sort of back off it, basically.
And that's what they do. Now, what you're going to see with Venezuela is they not going to talk about it anymore like that. Now the whole thing is going to be these Iranian protests, okay? Or they might cause something else to happen. They might do another false flag within the states, okay, to make a media splash. Okay, so he made all these promises with Venezuela. Now, more than likely, Venezuela is just going to go away. You're not going to hear about it anymore. Okay, and that nigga was just talking, man. You see, now they pumping up Greenland next. Okay, like, and then they'll paint it like, well, this nigga just going throughout the earth conquering. No, if he was a real conqueror, so tell you what a real conqueror is, man. All right, if you're a real conqueror, that means that if he really conquered Venezuela, that means we as American citizens could go to Venezuela with no passports and kick it. Okay? That's what a conqueror is, man. That means us as American citizens, if America conquered Venezuela, that means we should be able to go down to Venezuela, okay? And we should be able to kick it and have the same rights that we got in America and Venezuela. That's what conquering is, man. Okay? This nigga playing. He's playing a role of a conqueror. He's an actor, man. Okay?
Happens so many times in the Middle East, via the Ukraine situation as well, with Iran, and it's going to happen again here in Venezuela, because this is the paradox, okay, of U.S. intervention. And this is an ugly paradox, which is that if you're not willing to put boots on the ground, you're not going to be able to carry through any of your grand plans. But if you put boots on the ground, you're going to be sucked into a quagmire, and it's going to end in tears anyway. Bottom line. So if you want to achieve your goals and then defend yourself and then, bring disrepute to the administration, put boots on the ground. You will achieve some goals, but you may leave with your tail between your legs eventually, and with the world hating you more than they did before. But then the irony is here, and the paradox is, if you don't go in and put boots on the ground and do a Paul Bremer administrative takeover in a green zone in Caracas, and all the blood and gore that goes with that, and training death squads to create sectarian warfare between people, ethnicities, and groups. If you don't do that, then you might not actually be able to change facts on the ground, and you're not going to be able to have a full, when we say regime change, not just the leader, like the U.S. ideally would want to move the whole government out and purge the government in Caracas of any socialist or any Chavistas. But to do that, you really have to just basically, the streets need to run rivers of blood. I'm just saying, historical reality. And of course, they don't have a lot of people don't have the stomach or the backbone for that type of flexing. Certainly Pete Hegseth doesn't, because he'd be finished. I mean, he's already finished, but he would really be finished for life if that ever happened. You go into Dick Cheney recluse lifestyle after that. So they know it's going to be unpopular with the United States and with Latin America, and it will embolden left-wing movements right across Latin America and the global South. And it'll be seen as proof that the United States truly is as bad as everybody thought they were all those years. So this is where it's at. I don't think he's going to be able to deliver any of this, if any of it. I really don't see it, because the U.S. companies, that's a potential hostile environment. They're not necessarily going to be welcome there. People in Venezuela are proud people. Okay, this is. I mean, do I have to explain this? How do you think Hugo Chavez started the most incredible political movement in the global South in our lifetime? It's because he was popular. Why was he popular? Because of the message, because of the values of his movement, and implementing as a change agent, and also bringing back that pride, bringing back that solidarity, bringing back that sense of Venezuelan national identity and the values that went with that. This is a foreign concept to anybody in America, because it's been so long since we've ever had anything remotely like that, authentically anyway, in our part of the world, Western Hemisphere. But nonetheless, that is why. And this is why the military generally is going to be loyal to that movement. Unlike other South American countries where the elite send their kids to the military, but the elite invest.
So yeah, man, it's double. He's not going to be able to pull off all those promises, man. And he never had no intention or no plans to. Okay, even when he's talking about Greenland, he can't sit down and discuss, okay, the practical plan to take Greenland. Okay, he don't know it. Okay, a lot of things that happen that this nigga ain't briefed on, man. They just throw that nigga on stage to act. Okay, if you seen how they treated Trump behind the scene, you be like, damn. Probably slap that nigga on the back of the head. Look, go tell him this. You see, that nigga ain't gonna be able to deliver on all that, man. Okay, it's not practical, man. Okay, the way that he explains it, like it's just kindergarten. It don't work. Like, way more complex than what that nigga be talking about, how things actually work. Okay, so let's go here. Let me see. Yeah, let's go here to my guy Pepe. He's gonna talk about it too, dealing with Venezuela. Okay, then we're gonna go into what those oil companies said, man. Okay, them oil companies. He just went up there talking, man. He ain't talked to them oil companies, man. He just got on. The man be freestyling. Trump be freestyling, man. Okay, he just get up there and talk. Okay, and then keep you occupied in the break room the next morning. Man, Trump said he's president of Venezuela, man. That nigga don't play.
They didn't do anything to prevent the new Caligula make a gigantic geopolitical mistake. And it's the famous, you break it, you own it.
And this is the thing too, You know, like I say, these nations just sitting back and just letting America spiral out of control. You know, there's a quote from I think it's from Napoleon, where it said, "Never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake." Okay, because one of the things that America, you know, has been able to ride on is, you know, they've been looked at as the the morale, you know, the morale police. Okay, they've been looked at as great liberators. You know, the American military, they're the great liberators of the earth. You know, they bring justice, you know, to the weak. They're there to defend the weak, you know, from these tyrants. Okay. So America has had this image for a while. And these nations are just sitting back and letting America just destroy this image, this facade that they built up for so long. Okay. And the world is looking at America like these niggas are animals, man. These niggas are crazy. Okay. You hear Trump talking, you hear Rubio and Pete Hegseth and okay, Stephen Miller, you hear these niggas talk, man. You like, what? And then they're so childish and so uninformed, and you know, they have no nobility traits, man. You know, you look at these UN meetings, which all of it, you know, is for show. Okay, but you see the way that these other dignitaries carry themselves, man. They have some type of decorum, some type of, you know, integrity to a degree, and just they carry themselves different like adults. But you get to America, man, and it's a goddamn clown show. It's a Saturday Night Live skit. Okay, so these nations are just letting America do what they do, which is run the goddamn muck. Okay, but I think there's a quote from Napoleon. Yeah, just real quick. Let's look at this real quick. All right. So you look at, man, they ain't doing nothing. America is ruining itself, man. Okay. Like America is falling on its own sword. Just like those small hats. You know, they was over there bombing. People looking at the small hats like, these niggas are crazy, man. What do you like, nigga? People don't even talk about October 7th anymore. They talking about the 70, 80,000 people that these people have just slaughtered. Genocide, man. Okay. So the Lord just got, you know, these small hats in America just showing their ass to the world. And the world is just looking like, okay, and they're easing over under the banner of Russia, man. Their chief prince. You see? So real quick, I just looked it up. It says the phrase "never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake," attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte, is a strategic maxim, all right, advising patience, allowing opponents to self-destruct or fall deeper into error for greater advantage rather than intervening and potentially helping them recover or avoid consequences. Okay? It's a lesson. It's a lesson in restraint, letting an opponent's hubris, fury, and tactical blunder create their own downfall, creating opportunities for you to win decisively without wasting energy. Okay, and this is what these nations are doing. America is destroying itself. Okay, go to war here, war there. Let's put the ice on the public. Let's destroy this. The government shut down. You see, let's fund Ukraine. Let's, you know, let's cuss out the EU. Let's get Greenland. You know, it's just random. Like, what is this nigga doing? So these nations just sitting back and letting America just destroy itself. They're letting these small hats destroy themselves. Okay, the true uprising is in Tel Aviv. They want Netanyahu out of there. Okay, the true civil unrest. There's even within the IDF military, there's talks of civil war within the Israeli military, man, amongst the IDF. We got people not reporting to duty in the IDF, people that soldiers doing a mutiny, not following orders. Okay, but you think just because they able to pull off an airstrike that they got it all together? Nah, man, this shit collapsing. But you're not going to hear that news. You're just going to hear how weak Russia is, how weak Iran is, how weak China is. Okay, we shall see. You see? So let's go here. I got another video. Let's go back to this one. Why was it? Here we go. This is just the second half of the interview we went into yesterday. So let's let this play.
He thinks he broke Venezuela. He's talking every day. Now he owns it. And what he's going to do about it? He doesn't know. He calls the CEOs of energy majors in the US, and they tell him at the White House, Venezuela is uninvestable. This is the words of the ExxonMobil CEO. And everybody else said more or less the same thing. In my latest column, I talk about that in detail. And this is exactly what the Chinese were telling their connections around Eurasia and Southeast Asia. If just one, assuming U.S. energy majors invest $183 billion, and they already said that $100 billion is too much. It would take them 16 years to have Venezuela producing 3 million barrels of oil a day, which is pitiful. It's absolutely nothing. So Trump, obviously, he doesn't know about these figures. And even when a CEO of Exxon tells him in front of him, it's still, it's too much. So it's a total disaster.
So it said it would take, if America put 180 billion into the Venezuelan, infrastructure, it would take 16 years for them, to even begin to make profit off of their oil. Okay. But Trump was, he got people thinking that it was some major win. Okay. What they did with Maduro. All right. As if, the American economy was just going to benefit immediately. Okay. No big oil company or power companies has agreed to do anything down there with their infrastructure because they know it's a potential for a hostile environment, man. Okay, and do you know how many boots will have to be on the ground for those oil companies to come in and set up infrastructure? Trump not telling you all that, man. He just on there talking. Cause he don't know all that, man. He don't know how they work. Okay? Trump ain't this genius that they hyped him up to be, man. Okay? Nero wasn't great. Okay?
In terms of the original planning, which was regime change. Okay, he got his mini Netflix with no season 2, 30-minute spotlight. He got Maduro. Did he get a regime change? No, he didn't. And he won't get it. Because the Chavista government is in place. Delcy Rodriguez is very competent as an administrator and as a negotiator. She has to negotiate with the Americans. She talks with Rubio on the phone, and she's a very tough nut to crack. So Trump got absolutely nothing of his adventure. And now he's talking about invading Greenland, Cuba, Mexico, Colombia. Why not Patagonia? Oh, no, Patagonia, I don't need it because Argentina is already in my bag. It's a tragic comic in its stupidity, in fact.
Well, it's enough to make a horse laugh.
It's tragic comedy and stupidity, man. So let's go here. Like I said, American politics is like a skit of Saturday Night Live, man. Okay. Let's go here. So let's go to the actual meeting Trump had with these yeah, let's go here.
No, I didn't like Exxon's response. You know, we have so many that want it. I'd probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response.
President Trump said Exxon is playing too cute after the CEO said Venezuela is currently uninvestable without major legal and commercial reforms. The comment came after a White House meeting with oil executives where Trump urged U.S. companies to help revive Venezuela's oil sector. President Trump shattered a doctored image of Truth Social, calling himself the acting president of Venezuela. The post comes days after Trump jokingly endorsed his secretary, Marco Rubio, to be the president for Cuba. Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, has said she is willing to cooperate with the U.S. on shared initiatives as Maduro and his wife face federal charges in New York.
My wife said, if you win,
So yeah, man, the Exxon, okay, and these other U.S., power companies told Donald Trump, man, that shit is uninvestable, man. Okay, like you would think you would talk to them before you do that, okay? Before you take down the country and promise the oil, and you ain't talking to nobody. You had the meeting after, okay? And the brother can post that in Isaiah 49 and 7. There's no more wisdom in teaming. Okay. And also let's I got this last video dealing with the latest in Iran. But also let's get that Isaiah 19. And let's start at let's get Isaiah chapter 19, verses 11 through 14. Yep, verses 11 through 14. Isaiah chapter 19, verses 11 through 14. And that Jeremiah 49 and 7. So let's play this. Okay, so we heard about these protests in Iran, and they just been, Western media has just been blowing it up, using fake footage. Okay, which there has been, damage done to Iran's infrastructure because they had them agents, them sleeper cells, okay, from the West, with these small hats and America. All right, they unleashed these sleeper cells that was in Iran, which a lot of these are, these anti-Iranian, government terrorist groups. Okay, so some sellouts, from Iran that are agents for the West, and they're able to, they've been destroying infrastructure. So what Iran did to counter it, they did a blackout on the internet. Okay, and I was listening to what's my guy? I think his name was Dundee. He's over there in Iran now. And he's saying that once they shut down the internet, that those protests went down dramatically. But America is still showing old footage. Okay, and they're showing footage of other riots and as if it's still going on. All right, but Professor Morandi, that's his name. He said that the riots have went down a lot, okay, because now they're not able to organize without the internet, okay? They're not able to receive, these payments from, all right, the West without the internet, okay? Now we're going to go into what Iran, like what they actually did. So let's play this, and this is just the latest in Iran, what they're doing to counter, all right, the West, okay, and these sleeper cells and these agent provocateurs, okay, that have made these protests violent, okay.
Iran has crossed a dangerous new digital red line drawn by the Americans. The Iranian regime deployed military-grade jamming technology to shut down satellite internet, cutting off Starlink, the last lifeline protesters believed could keep them connected to the world. What began as an internet blackout has now escalated into a full-scale battle for control of space-based communication. But the more bigger question is how Iran achieved this, and was this supported by anti-US nations? Digital rights monitors warned this is a game-changing escalation. Iran's sweeping blackout has entered uncharted territory, with confirmed reports of deliberate interference targeting Elon Musk's Starlink satellite network. Activists say this was their final plan B when domestic internet services were shut down. Now that escape route is gone. According to experts, Iran's clerical leadership has activated a so-called kill switch using military-grade jammers to disrupt satellite signals. The technology involved is highly sophisticated and extremely expensive. Analysts believe the equipment was either developed domestically or supplied by Russia or China. Despite Starlink being officially banned, the number of receivers inside Iran has quietly surged. But Starlink relies on GPS signals to locate and connect to satellites. Military-grade jammers are now overwhelming those signals, effectively choking off communication.
So yeah, because they said Starlink was already banned in Iran, okay, because they know it's, you know, Western technology, they know. But it said it was a surge of Starlink that was in Iran, letting you know it was a surge of those sleeper cells, okay, being imported, embedded, okay, within Iran. All right. Now, Iran got, they saying this is some high-tech technology that Iran has. And it shut down Starlink, which are American satellites, man. Okay, which Elon Musk, he's just the face of it, but there's nothing but, Starlink is nothing but a branch of American military. Okay. It just disguised as a private company under Elon Musk. Okay. But Iran was able to shut down those satellites, to shut off Starlink, period. Okay. And they said this took some high-tech technology to do that. But Iran is weak. Now, if the West would have did this, if America would have did this to Iran, all you would have heard about, oh man, the West is just so far ahead. America just so far ahead, man. They just so superior, man. Iran, man, they the Stone Age, man. If this was the other way around, that's all you would have heard about. But here it is, Iran done shut down Starlink. They done shut down American satellites, man. What type of jamming technology do they got? And this gonna play a factor in war, because those missiles, okay, are guided by these GPS. Okay, so if they can jam Starlink, they can jam, all right, missiles as well. These missile systems, these radar systems for these missiles, they can jam radars for fighter jets. Okay. But if this was the other way around, you would never hear the end of how superior America is to Iran and how Iran is so far behind. You know, but that's how the West flipped these stories, man. Okay. So let's let it play some more. Well, yeah, Iran. Let's go.
Simon Migliano, journalist and research head at Top 10 VPN, told Forbes that Iran's nationwide blackout is a blunt weapon designed to crush dissent. He warned the economic cost is staggering, draining an estimated $1.56 million every hour the internet remains down. Amir Rashidi, quoted by IranWire, said this level of interference is unprecedented. In over 20 years of research, he has never witnessed jamming of this scale. He described the technology as advanced, military-grade, and likely sourced from Russia or China, if not built locally. Israeli journalist Emily Schrader reported that Starlink connectivity in Iran has been completely jammed. She cited total packet loss consistent with high-power microwave jamming, possibly of Chinese origin. Schrader warned the interference not only disables satellites, but also cripples mobile networks nationwide and may pose serious health risks to civilians. GPS jamming works by exploiting a critical weakness. Satellite signals travel thousands of miles and reach Earth at extremely low power. A jammer floods the same frequency with stronger signals, drowning out legitimate transmissions and rendering receivers useless. Russia has used GPS jamming extensively since 2014. During its invasion of Ukraine, Moscow disrupted navigation, drones, and even US-supplied GPS and Starlink-linked systems.
Staying late again? Here.
Russia has also been linked to widespread civilian GPS interference across the Baltic region, affecting aviation in NATO countries like Poland and Estonia. China, meanwhile, has demonstrated large-scale electronic warfare capabilities. Beijing has conducted simulations showing how drone swarms could disrupt Starlink over areas the size of Taiwan. China has also heavily invested in anti-GPS technologies alongside its Beidou satellite system. All this comes as protests inside Iran enter their third week. Despite deadly crackdowns, demonstrators continue to defy the regime. Reports suggest more than 500 people have been killed since unrest began. On the 12th day of protests, Iran imposed a near-total internet blackout. That's when Starlink emerged as a rare beacon of hope. Images and videos once again flowed out of a country of nearly 80 million people plunged into digital darkness. But now that lifeline has been snapped. As the regime tightens its grip both on the streets and the skies, the battle has moved beyond borders and into orbit. And with millions now back in the dark, the question remains: who controls the future of connectivity, and how far will global powers go to shut it down? Iran has now crossed a new digital red line, deploying military-grade jammers to shut down satellite internet, cutting off Starlink, and choking what protesters once believed was their final escape from silence. Internet blackout enters dangerous new territory.
What I want to do is go into this response, because this is more theater. Because Trump know about this. Now, Trump was talking all this shit if they kill protesters and they going to intervene. Well, protesters have died. Okay? Now they're jamming American satellites. Why America ain't pulled up yet? Because if America did this to Iran, then all you will hear about how weak Iran is. Well, wait a minute. Protesters have died. Okay, which are mostly, and then you also have the military rounding up these agent provocateurs and sleeper cells. They're being purged out. Okay, so protesters have died, and they done jammed American satellites. Why y'all ain't pulled up yet? Okay, Trump was tweeting, if they kill protesters, we're gonna intervene. Not only have protesters been killed, okay, but they jammed American satellites. Okay. So what is this tough shit at, man? So let's let you hear the theater. All right. Let you hear this theater. Let's go here.
Starlink to Iran, sir, to help the people in the ground with the internet blackout for more than 72 hours?
We're talking about that. We may get the internet going, if that's possible.
Are you talking to us
we
about?
May speak to Elon.
I'm
Because as you know, he's very good at that kind of thing. He's got a very good company. So he may speak to Elon Musk. And in fact, I'm going to call him as soon as I'm finished with you.
Specifically, Iran said that they would consider military and commercial bases as legitimate targets if you struck. Are you concerned about
that? We'll consider things targets they wouldn't believe. If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. And they won't even believe it. I have options that are so strong. So I mean, if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
Iran takes your threats seriously?
I think so. Don't you think so, CNN? Don't you think so? Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years with me, being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out. Don't you think, and then you just had Venezuela, don't you think, she says, CNN, do you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done? What a stupid question. Well, no, they're starting to, it looks like, and there seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it. And we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination. Why would they do that? We'll consider things targets that they wouldn't believe. If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. And they won't even believe it. I have options that are so strong. So, I mean, if they did that, it'll be met with a very, very powerful force.
Meanwhile, Iran's reformist president.
And just like the brother said, you know, he speaks as a child. Okay? Trump speaks like a child, man. All right, so we're gonna call Elon to get the internet back up. Like this, you know, like like Elon's some great technician, man. We're gonna go in space. Okay, with some vice scripts. What are you gonna do? Okay, and they pump these certain characters up like they just these heroes, man. Elon don't know what's going on neither. That nigga be spaced out. Okay, they just threw that nigga in front of the camera and slapped that nigga in the back of the head and say, nigga, go be, you know, this great Edomite nigga. Okay? He don't know what's going on. You hear him talk, man. He be spaced out, stuttering. Okay? The Edomites don't got it, man. And the Lord said that, okay, when you go here to the book of let's get this. Okay. This is the book of Jeremiah 49:7. This is Brother Kazak Bun Howard. And it said Jeremiah 49:7 says, concerning Edom, thus said the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Ashar host, his wisdom no more in Teman, his counsel perish from the prudent, is their wisdom vanished. Okay? And you look at how these devils operate, man, it's very foolish, it's tacky, it's thrown together. All right, because when the Lord was with these devils being in power and they was on the come up, okay, the Lord had them in genius mode. It was organized wickedness, but it was genius mode. But now, okay, the Lord is stripping them from wisdom, man, to where they just throwing this shit together. Okay, it's just tacky on every aspect. Is tacky, man. What this nigga is doing. Okay, and the Lord is making mockery. Like, damn, is wisdom vanished? Because teaming goes into these Germans. Okay, which a lot of these think tanks that make decisions for these politicians. Because you got something called the Rand Corporation. You know, I believe it's called the Rand Corporation. Let me see if I went into it. Let's see. Yo, so let's go here. Here, it's called the Rand Corporation. I just want to look it up. And y'all can, you brothers can look more into it. I think they have actual little videos on YouTube about it. Okay. It said the RAND, all right, corporation function as a non-partisan, non-profit think tank, providing objective research and analysis to improve public policy and decision making for governments, foundations, and the private sector, tackling complex issues in national security, health education, and more often operating federally funded research centers to support the U.S. Government. Its core mission is to deliver evidence-based insight and strategic recommendation to address societal challenges and inform leaders free from political and commercial pressures. Okay, so you have this, this group RAND Corporation, which is a think tank, that does all the research and analysis when it comes to certain decisions. And they do this based on what the outcome the elites want. Okay, the elites want inflation. Okay, they have these think tanks. All right, they research, do this, do that, and it's gonna cause this percentage. They want unemployment, do this, do that, So Trump ain't sitting at the office, in deep thought, coming up with no major decisions, man. Okay, they have these think tanks, and most of them be these Teamanites, man. Okay, because you go into post World War II, and you had Operation Paperclip. Okay, let's look at something there. All right, well, it was a rush because Russia had a term for it too, so it's a German word, but it was the same thing as America's Operation Paperclip, where they went and they kidnapped all these German scientists after Germany fell in World War II. Okay, let's see, what is Operation Paperclip? It said Operation Paperclip was a secret U.S. program after World War II that brought over 1,600 German scientists, teaming, engineers and technicians to America to work on advanced weapons, rocketry, and space technology, giving the U.S. a Cold War advantage over the Soviets. All right, which that was a lie because the Russians got into space first. Okay, Russia won the space; they got into space first. So what advantage did they have? Over Russia. See, Russia failed because of economics, because America, the bankers, they backed America after World War II, and there was some abandonment when it came to the USSR. Okay, so they failed because of their economy. The USSR had to disband because of their economy. Okay, but ever since Putin has been, in office for like over 20 years now. Okay, but since Putin, Russia had just been on the incline, militarily, economically, in every aspect, because the Lord, like I say, I will rise up the Medes. The Lord has risen them back up. Okay, so a Cold War advantage over the Soviets, but controversially involved recruiting individuals with Nazi past, man, which they don't care about. That's a whole nother. There's some of whom had their war records, whitewashed. Okay, it says key aspect. It says initially called Operation Overcast, it was renamed Paperclip after the paperclips used to mark files of favored scientists. It says the purpose to harness German scientific experiment, particularly in rocketry and weapons, to prevent from falling to Soviet hands. So this, this rivalry between America and the Soviets goes back to post-World War II. Okay, and now it's coming to a head. Okay, and this souped up Russia, all right, is going to collide with this declining Okay, American empire, man. Russia and its allies. Okay, and then America and the small hats. Okay, and it's gonna go bad. Okay, it says impact said the program significantly advanced U.S. aerospace, missile, and defense technology, contributed to the space race and Cold War military backup. Because America got 1,600 of these scientists, but Russia got like 2,200. Okay, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I think Russia got 2,200. You know, Russia's version of operation. Yep. So Russia version of Operation Paperclip. He said the Russian version of Operation Paperclip was Operation Osha Vakim. All right, a massive secret operation in October that forcibly relocated over 6,000 German scientists, engineers, and their families from occupied Germany to the Soviet Union. So Russia got 6,000 of those teaming nights, man. Dang. You know, I thought I was 2,200. I read somewhere. I was off. You know, but to work on Soviet missile, nuclear, and aerospace programs, and Russia has a superior missile program than America, man. Okay, and they got the space first. Okay, and that's why Russia had those advanced missile defense system as well, which people haven't seen Russia's most advanced missile defense system at work. Okay, because they don't want to give America anything. Okay, to be able to gather intelligence on. Nigga, you will see it when you see it. Okay. Okay, so it just 6,000 was including their families. So overall, it's about 2,500 German specialists and 4,000 their family members. Okay, so I kind of remember the numbers over 2,000. Okay, well, there's still more than you than you know. Then they even push their propaganda. But either way, okay, is wisdom no more in teaming? You know, because teaming plays a major part in the advancement, the technological advancements of America and Russia. Okay, well, going back to America, man, it's like there's no more wisdom in teaming. Okay, because teaming only will get them so far. Now they got to deal with the judgment of Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. Okay, so let's go. Let's go here. All right, some brothers done posted. All right, this is on the brother Kazak Bon Yahweh. Isaiah 19:11 says, "Surely the priests of Zoan are fools. The counsel, all right, of the wise counsels of Pharaoh is become brutish." Okay, they're just operating like brute beasts, man. You know, we're just gonna go through the earth and just take no strategy, niggas just gonna strong on. You know, brutish, uncivilized, man. Okay, it says, "How say you unto Pharaoh, I am the son of the wise and the son of ancient kings," man? And these people are acting like these people are moving like animals, man. Okay, there's no nobility within Esau, man. The man's an animal. Isaiah 19:12 said, "Where are they? All right, where are thy wise men? And let them tell them now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts have purpose upon Egypt." Okay, so all these, these think tanks and these scientists, okay, they telling you what's really finna happen. Okay, are they telling you that America's gonna be a desert? Okay, you Edomites going into captivity, or is your astrologers telling you that? Nah, man. Okay, they filling them with foolish counsel. Do this, do that. This is foolish. The elites ain't got it. I don't care how much the elites have controlled and manipulated over the years. Now they don't got it. They don't matter right now what the elites have done. All that was for nothing. Okay, yes, they control this and they control that, and they have their hands here and there. But now the Lord has put a foolish spirit on them, man, till they just self-destruct mode. That's why missiles just gonna fly everywhere, man. Okay, America gonna go out like like Tony Montana on Scarface, man. You remember that scene, okay? Coked up and just, you know. You see, Isaiah 19:13 said, the princes of Zoan are become fools, the princes of Naph are deceived, they have also seduced Egypt, even they that are at the state of the tribes thereof. Okay, the Lord, and see, Esau is seduced. You know, he's so big on enchanting the masses and having people, you know, deceived, but there's no one that's more deceived than this nigga, man. Okay, this is a brother student of Yahweh. All right, verse 14 said, the Lord have mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Okay, so you're looking at how America is operating, man. It's like a drunk man, okay, trying to handle business, man. Okay, trying to do things that require clarity. Okay, so this is what we're seeing. America just stumbling and bumbling all over the place. Greenland, Cuba, you know, Nicaragua, Nigeria, nigga just stumbling, man. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get peace here. We're gonna get peace here. This nigga is waging and replacing governments, but then say we're gonna do peace. Okay, it's like a drunk man. Nigga just talking. Okay, just staggering all over the place, man. Okay, so yeah, man, that's the point. You know, the point been made. You know, we can go on. All right, you know, I know this been longer than usual. You know, but the Spirit do what the Spirit does, man. Okay, so Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful Shalom. You know, I say, brothers and sisters, you have any questions, you know, feel free to ask on the comment board. Some don't make sense. Something you see don't make sense. You know, ask on the comment board. You know, we tap in. You know, it's what we do all through the Spirit and power of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh, man. Bob, man. You going home.